Hi everyone, so welcome to Investing for Value. So today I want to talk about 5 stocks that I think is worth buying in today's market. Obviously we've been through quite a lot and there's a lot of companies that might get into trouble in these markets. So the question is, what's still good? Well, I think given today's market, you want to choose something that is going to perform well in the long term. But it also has a really good chance of surviving in this climate, and if it does well in this climate, well, even better, right? So I'm going to start off the first company. This is a company I've done a video on previously. It's called Innovative Industrial Properties. So this is a company that buys up facilities from cannabis producers. They lease it back to them, and they make a very, very good rental income. Above 13% return, which is an incredible return. And this stock used to sell, it was between it was in the 80s, and it got as high as 100. And right now it's about 75. You could have actually gotten this stock for a very, very low price not too long ago, around about 46, even lower. I think you could actually have gotten this at 40, depending on which days it was. But even at 75, I think this stock isn't too bad, because this stock is paying you about a dollar per quarter going forward. So that's about $4, giving you basically about 5.78% dividend return, not to mention the growth that they have coming towards them. So currently there's a $1.28 billion stock, though you've basically got a company that is holding. This was a reporting back in December the 30th, and they had about over 100 million in cash. But they also happened to raise $250 million just a couple of months ago, so not too far off. That 250 plus the 100 that they originally held. This company is holding about a good 350 million cash, or around there. So if they're holding that much cash, firstly they're going to survive. They will have no problem funding themselves going forward. Like in a way, they were very, very fortunate, and very, very good timing with the raise, because they've raised this money and now they have the best opportunity. So currently a lot of companies will be in trouble. A lot of companies want cash, and outcomes in a in a innovative industrial properties, and they've got cash, so they can basically go to all these different companies, and they can start buying up their properties. So basically that's what they've done. Like in April, yeah, they acquired a property for $26.8 million, and they can just keep doing that. So, you know, obviously, if you don't like this industry, then you don't have to buy this stock. But if you don't mind it, this is definitely one of those companies that's offering a very good return in terms of dividends, and also growth for the stock itself. And at 75, like even at 100, I was thinking it was a good buy. So even at 75, it's still a really good buy. And even if it drops, this would be a stock I'd be very comfortable with just buying more, because it just has such a nice long-term future. And as reiterated, they've got cash in the bank. All right, so second company is Starbucks Corporation. So Starbucks is basically so flush with cash, they're doing stock buybacks, which I kind of find weird. But they've got the money, so they can do what they like. So this is a company that's basically, it hasn't been trading that much lower than it used to be. So like it used to trade, around $90, not too long ago. Yeah, and just more or less 90, or we can go into the 80s. And right now it's at $73. So it's arguable whether you're really getting like that much of a discount. But this is one of those really, really high quality companies that's just going to really perform well going forward. Of course, this current situation, they might have to just they will have reduced revenues and reduced profits. But long-term wise, this is still a very good company, especially when in the situation, like when China had their situation, Starbucks managed to manage, they managed their situation in a very good way. And basically, they can take those lessons that they learned over there and implement them in the current situation in the US and also in other places as well. So basically, this is a company that's sold down a little bit. I personally feel like you could be buying this a little bit cheaper, but at $73, it's still not a bad buy. Particularly now that it has performed really well. This company has been growing really well in the last 2 years, especially with expanding into China and into other markets. Also, what's going for them as well is one of their biggest competitors in China, Luckin Coffee, also just recently had a scandal. So depending on what happens there, potentially Starbucks may be the winner out of this situation, because before Luckin Coffee exceeded them in terms of stores, Starbucks was the largest coffee chain in China. Now it's Luckin, but if Luckin turns out to be a bit of a shambles, then Starbucks could easily come in and take the mantle of the largest, coffee chain in China again. I'd say long term, they're a proven company. They've managed to operate very well in this current situation, and they will continue to operate very well going forward. I think that's more or less what I have to say about Starbucks. You aren't getting them at a terribly cheap price, but this is one company you can feel, a bit relieved to hold and know they'll be fine for this current situation and will continue to perform well going forward in the future. Though if you can, I'd say try to buy at a lower pricing. 73 is not too bad, but I think it just depends on your comfort level. But if you can buy a little bit lower, I'd say buy a bit lower. Alright, so the third company is Virgin Galactic. So this is a company that skyrocketed not too long ago when it was selling from as low as like $7 back in November last year, and then it got as high as, in terms of a closing price, $33 on February, and it has since just like wallowed back down because obviously people got a bit fearful, they sold down the stock. But the thing about the stock is nothing's changed about it. Like from this peak when people were buying it up, nothing changed. Literally, this company does not have a product on the market, so they're not going to be affected in reduced revenues. So more or less, it's a matter of, can they continue to progress? Yes, they can. And do they have enough cash to survive for the time? Because obviously some companies need to raise money. But we can see here, when they last reported for December the 30th last year, they had about 480 million in cash, which is quite sizable for them. And then if we look at the loss, and the loss was about $210 million. So looking at this buffer of cash, we can basically go, they should have about 2 years running room. So they've got this year and next year. So yeah, I think this company is very comfortable in terms of financials. They don't really have that much exposure to the market. And I imagine they'll probably delay their launch date until things get a little bit better. Though if they do launch at the end of the year, then things are just going to be very good for the stock in general. And as the CEO did talk about, that at the end of the day, their customers are all very, very wealthy people, who, regardless of a recession, it would not impact them in a big way. So this is a company that will perform well regardless of this current situation, regardless of a recession. This is a company that's got its financials. Its customers will continue to take their flights because, as mentioned, they don't start off with a lot of capacity, and when they start to build capacity, I imagine things will start improving in the current economic climate anyway. So this is one company that I've liked from the very start, and I still like it. $15 isn't too bad. I think long term it still does really well. Obviously, it can be sold down a bit more, so you could get this at a cheaper price. But 15, I'm not that bothered about 15, to be honest. If it was a bit higher, then maybe. But I think $15, giving about a 3 billion valuation, this company can be worth a bit more in the future. So I think it's not a bad deal right now. So next company, fourth company, we've got SmileDirectClub. So SmileDirectClub is one of those companies that came onto the market, was, you know, kind of like trading along around this $8 zone. Then start of the year, it took a bit of a peak when it said it would start selling products in quite a few stores, including Walmart. Obviously, things have been sold down recently because they just had a bit of a situation where there was a report that the customers weren't happy, but it looks like it just turned out to be a very small percentage of those customers. They've since used this time to tidy everything up. They've added, in their forms, they've made sure people do not sign them without saying they've actually seen a dentist. Whereas I think some customers fell through the loophole where they used the products without even seeing a dentist, which is actually quite a big problem. So they've actually took some time, improved the consistency, improved the quality of the company, and I think going forward, this is a much better quality company than it was a few months ago. And given that the price is actually lower, so like you've got a better company in terms of the quality going forward, because they've checked everything. They don't want these things to just blow out of control ever again, because it's very damaging for their reputation. So basically, they're using their time wisely now to rebuild everything. They're also building face shields, so that also gives them a bit of extra revenue in this current situation. They do not expect to make a profit now. They did expect to make a profit at the end of the year, which was quite a big boost. They don't expect to. They did forecast they would pass $1 billion in revenue. I don't think the chance of doing that might be a bit lower now, but even if they get close to $1 billion, that's not bad. Mind you, the market valuation of this company is only $1.6 billion. So for a company that's growing about 40%, it's really not bad. It's really not bad, to be honest. So they're growing really well, and yeah, I'd say the current situation, it's kind of half and half, because they do teledentistry, which means people can actually use their products while at home. While with traditional dentistry, you have to go to the people. For SmileDirectClub, you do have to do initial visits, of course. But in this kind of situation, there is a bit more favour in terms of their products, because people are at home. But again, they're not really able to operate to their capacity at the moment. So yeah, I think that they've clearly been impacted in the present time, and probably in the next few months, since they are not really operating at full capacity. They have closed a lot of their shops, so they will not be getting too many new customers, though the existing customers will be continue to be serviced. So I think this is a company that's basically selling at a very low price. Even when they had their scandal, I think they were selling around $8, $9, and then all of a sudden it's being sold down now. Like, if a scandal couldn't bring them down, I wouldn't call it a scandal, but just more unsatisfied customers. And at this current price, $4.36, I think it represents some pretty decent value, especially for a company that is disrupting the industry. They're selling a lot of their products in Walmart and all that, and then also Walmart is including a dentistry area in their stores, and SmileDirectClub is likely to be a huge benefactor of that situation. But I think currently maybe things aren't going to be too bright, but going forward it looks like a very good long-term future for SmileDirectClub. Alright, so the fifth and final company. So this is Kimberly Clark Corporation. So Kimberly Clark Corporation, if you don't know what they do, they basically make tissue or toilet paper. So basically their one big brand is Kleenex. And this is a brand that's recognized throughout the whole world. Um, and right now you must be wondering, you've seen the news articles, you've seen the drama around toilet paper, how people were fighting over it, how people were hoarding it and everything. And it's actually really funny because this company, in this time, their share price has not gone up at all. Like, it's kind of really weird. I was just like following this company and I was like, surely this company is going to do really well in this situation, because all of a sudden there's a huge demand because they make toilet paper, they make tissue, and they make face masks. And though that is the majority of the operation. So you must be thinking, if they make everything that everyone needs and stuff that people are going to be hoarding, why isn't the stock jumping? Which is kind of weird. Yeah, I was trying to justify it, but I don't even know how to. I don't even know why. Because like, we're looking at maybe because their revenues have been declining, but not really declining by much. Like, you can see they made a peak of like 20 billion in 2011 in revenue, and then slowly declined to 19. Then in the last few years, their revenues only, but it's been pretty stagnant around 18 billion. And then as we look into the net profits are, more or less around that $1 to $2 billion, like 1.5 to 2, which is very, consistent. This seems like a company that just basically never thought about growing. Well, basically they can't grow that much because there's only so much tissue people can use. So it's more a situation of, this company dominates the world in terms of tissue, toilet paper, and all those. And then it couldn't really grow, so I guess it never really popped out as the company to be buying. But I couldn't really make sense of this entirely because I was like, surely this is a company that's selling every product they literally sell is in huge demand. Yet it's not actually showing up in the share price. PE is still 21, so obviously it hasn't really been sold down by much, but it also hasn't been propped up by that much either. So, and you would probably expect the income, like you probably expect revenues to be rising for this company, particularly now that their factories are operating 24/7, and also, yeah, they're basically they're going to make more income than they have in the previous years. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the stock do well going forward. I think this is one of those stocks that, hey, if it performs well, it'll perform fairly well. But if it doesn't perform well, it's likely to just do nothing, if you know what I mean. Because in this situation, their products are in huge demand. So I just couldn't see why the stock price isn't higher. Um, but maybe like it's already been quite high in the past, so people are like, oh, maybe we don't want to push it too much higher. But at a PE of 20 on these previous numbers, I expect once they report um, this month, and I think 21st of April, where you'll be able to see did their revenues and net profits increase, and do they forecast a further increase going forward. Like, this stock's kind of a bit of a hunch for me, but I think it's potentially one that could do well. If it doesn't do well, I don't think you lose much. If it does well, I think you tend, like, it won't be entirely be really sizable, but I think it's a decent gain to be looked forward, something that you can look forward to in the stock. Yeah, but let me know what you think about these stocks. Obviously, this is just what I think about these current stocks in this current environment, because a lot of stocks don't really stand out right now, especially in this situation. I do expect a bit more pressure in the market, and obviously the S&P 500 and Dow is much higher than I thought it would be at this time of, in this situation. Obviously people are buying it up and no one can make sense of this, so bear in mind that there could be a bit more pressure. These stocks could be sold down a little bit more. um, yeah, so but I mean, do some research, make your own decisions, and let me know what you think. And also, if there's any other stocks you want me to talk about, or any industries, or any general questions, then feel free to let me know. It's always interesting to know what people think about these stocks, and your perspective helps me balance my perspective, and it makes us better investors, right? Until then, I wish everyone good luck investing, and until next time, I'll see you later.